5.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Mike Carroll, the PennDOT Secretary, and we're here again to talk about Real ID and to answer some of your questions. Well, today is the day. Federal TSA enforcement of Real ID has now begun. Starting today, if you don't have a Real ID driver's license, an ID card, or a passport, you won't be able to board a domestic flight without additional TSA screening. Getting a Real ID is optional in Pennsylvania, but if you want to continue using your driver's license or ID card to fly domestically, you will need a Real ID, the license with the gold star in the corner. If you are planning to fly and don't have a Real ID or passport, you really need to gather your documents together, check out the PennDOT website to be sure you have the right ones, and visit a driver's license center. Around 3 million Pennsylvanians have already gotten their Real ID, and you can find out again exactly what you need by checking that PennDOT Real ID website. Our PennDOT team works really hard to serve customers quickly and efficiently, and we're seeing huge increases in customer volumes at our driver's license centers. I want to take a moment to acknowledge our skillful PennDOT team. The team has done an enormous responsibility to meet the transportation needs of 13 million people. I'm not saying they're perfect. I'm not saying they do everything exactly right every single day, but they're skillful and they work really hard to meet the needs of the public and try and work people through a very complex process. Our driver's license center really are experts at what they do. Their work is complex. They work face-to-face with thousands of customers every day, and they work long hours. In fact, they've been doing this for 6 days a week, for months leading up to the start of the federal Real ID enforcement, serving customers for hours after the driver's license center has closed. They're sacrificing time with loved ones to ensure that Pennsylvanians who want a Real ID can get a Real ID. So please be patient with our staff and with your fellow customers. I know this is difficult. Real IDs have been available in Pennsylvania for over 6 years now, and they'll continue to be available after today's TSA enforcement deadline. So if you don't have immediate travel plans, or if you already have a valid passport, you might want to consider holding off for a few weeks or months until the rush at the driver's license centers dies down. I'm happy to answer questions that have been submitted by the media in advance. Alexis.
Thank you. We have a couple questions today. First off, TSA is saying that they will allow people to board planes without Real IDs, even though enforcement has begun, but that they will be subject to additional screening. Do we know what that means or what that looks like?
So as I understand it from the media reports across the country, TSA folks at airports are screening, asking folks if they have the Real ID. And if they do not, or if they don't have a passport, they're being taken to a secondary line and being secondarily screened to ensure that they're the person that they claim to be with the documents they have. It's my understanding TSA is going to work really hard to make sure that everybody that has a ticket for a flight will be able to get on that flight. But the reality is that it's still a good idea to get the Real ID so that you don't have to do the secondary screening. And when the TSA is serious about turning folks away, that will not happen to you.
Thank you. And to be clear, even though federal enforcement has begun, Real IDs are still available. People can still get them, correct?
That is correct. PennDOT will continue to issue Real IDs now that we've reached the TSA enforcement deadline. Of course, you will need to check that PennDOT website to bring your birth certificate and your Social Security card and proof of residency. Again, checking the PennDOT website to make sure you bring the documents with you. We will continue with a Real ID day next Monday, May the 12th, at our driver's license centers. Again, the website will direct you, and then we'll figure it out from there depending on the volume of folks and how we see this unfolding over the next couple of weeks.
Do you have to go to a Real ID center to get a Real ID, or can you go to any PennDOT driver license center?
So you can go to any PennDOT driver center, but if you go to the Real ID driver centers, the ones that have the star on the list on the PennDOT website, you will walk out the door with your Real ID. If you go to a regular PennDOT driver's license center that's not a Real ID center, you will be able to have their paperwork processed, and the ID will be issued to you, the Real ID, and mailed to you, and you'd have it within 15 days.
What if somebody has been living in Pennsylvania for years but was born out of state? How did they deal with the birth certificate requirement?
Well, if you were born in any state other than Pennsylvania and you need a duplicate birth certificate, then you have to apply to that state's Vital Records office for a duplicate birth certificate. Again, the PennDOT website will help direct you to contact at the various state Vital Records offices so that you have a head start with where to contact and who to contact in the various states.
Thanks. So you spoke to this briefly, but just to clarify, now that enforcement has begun, is PennDOT planning to continue offering Real ID services on Mondays when the centers are normally closed?
So on Monday, May the 12th, our drivers, the PennDOT driver license centers will be available for Real ID services. Depending on the volume that day and the days that between now and the May the 19th, we'll make a determination. Of course, we'll share that in the public realm so that folks know whether or not May 19th or any subsequent Mondays would be available for Real IDs. Again, the PennDOT website would be a key resource there.
Since lines have been so long at the DMV, do you have any tips for people to get through those lines more quickly?
So if you show up early, if you have that capacity, that's always a good idea. Saturdays generally are more busy than other days for Pennsylvanians because of work schedules and such. Again, the lines are lengthy, especially in the urban centers. If you have the ability to go to a different driver's license center outside of the urban centers, you may want to think about that. But generally speaking, the lines and the wait times have slowly declined as we've gotten to May the 7th. Our driver's license wait centers, generally in the neighborhood of 20 or 30 minutes at this point. Not ideal, but we were at a point a few weeks ago where it was far greater than that. So driving early, avoiding Saturdays if possible, and maybe thinking about a driver's license center outside the urban centers may be a wise choice.
Okay, thanks. And then this is going to be the last question. What should a person do if they paid for a Real ID, got approved for it, but it hasn't arrived in the mail?
Well, you need to wait the 15 days, first of all. So it's not going to arrive in your mailbox the day after you go to the driver's license center. So if you haven't received it in 15 days or so, then you would contact PennDOT. One of our customer service representatives would get the information from you. We'd chase down what happened. Hopefully there's not a data entry error, or hopefully you haven't moved and not shared your new address with us. So if there's some sort of weirdness with respect to what's happened over the 2 weeks, we'll sort that out. But if you paid for it, you will get it.
Thank you. And that's the last of our questions. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much.